Hey guys, welcome back. Very good to see you all back. This is obviously some difficult times for us in the world, and today I decided to make a slightly different type of video. I thought because of the whole situation that we are going through the world right now, lots of people are basically being kind of stuck at home at quarantine, or they cannot really go out to work or to school, and basically we are being forced to stay at home most of the time. And I thought it's a good opportunity to talk a little bit about the advantages and the disadvantages of conducting an online chess lesson versus a physical chess lesson, because very often people would ask me, what do you think? Should we meet or should we do it online? Is it good? Is it bad? What is your experience? Now, obviously, for many people, there's some. It's physical lessons are not even an option. Like if you live in the U.S. in some rural area, not in the big city. I have some students that live in some places that like the nearby club is like 2 hours away or something. So physical chess lessons are not even an option. And obviously, for some people, online lessons are not an option because of, I don't know, they are not connected to the internet or whatever. I guess there aren't that many people like that. But I wanted to really talk a little bit about the upsides and downsides, because obviously there is no perfect solution. Now, with this video, I'm not really recommending anything. I'm just going to present you why it's why you might like the idea of having an online chess lessons, or why you might dislike the idea, and you can choose kind of for yourself. So let's start with the advantages of having an online lesson. First of all, the first one is very obviously the convenience. You don't need to get out of your house. You can do it basically, at your desk at home. So you're not really, you don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to spend time, I don't know, driving or the public transport or whatever. You can do this basically uh, when wherever, whenever. Very convenient. I mean, this is a big advantage of having an online class, because for example, people that want to visit me, I'm also teaching from my place sometimes, or in a nearby area, and they need to get here. Sometimes it takes them a lot of time. I'm living in Israel, by the way, so if you live basically anywhere else in the world, it's probably very unlikely that I can be teaching you face to face. But if you have coaches nearby, this is something to take into account. The convenience. Now, the second advantage that I kind of came to realize about online lessons is the time that you save in an online lesson versus an over the board, if like a physical lesson in the piece arrangement. This is unbelievable. Listen, uh, when I'm teaching in face-to-face lesson, keep in mind I need to constantly, for example, if we analyze the position and then we want to go back a couple of moves into another position, we need to rearrange the pieces on the board. Or if we want to put a new position on the board, then one more time, you need to put this on the board. So I think about maybe 10% or 15% of the time of the lesson, let's say if it's a 90-minute lesson time, maybe 10 to 15 minutes are just being, they just go away arranging pieces. So that's something that in an online lesson you can do in one click. If you are on an analysis board online, you just click back. It happens instantly, so you save quite a lot of time when you study online. That's also a pretty big advantage, I would say, to the online lessons. Third advantage, and this is something which is a little bit technical, but you can record your lesson if you are using an application like Zoom. I think even Skype has the options to do that right now, to actually just record your lesson. This is something which is pretty nice. Yeah, like your coach teaches you something, maybe you want to review it later on, you can just record a lesson, review it afterwards. If you have the option of doing that kind of always, it's kind of on demand. Also, it's pretty convenient. It's something you definitely cannot do on a face-to-face lesson unless you like put a big camera on the board or something, which I'd never seen anybody do that. So I would just assume nobody does that. So that's something you can do in an online lesson only. Number 4, as this is from the coach perspective, and also from the student's perspective, you kind of save on the equipment. Like if you teach somebody on the like face to face, you need to have books. You need to like print papers to give them some homework. While if everything is being conducted online, you can save them. You can send them the papers. You can send them all of the material that you need or whatever. Just you send to them it on Kindle or whatever. So you don't need to actually physically have almost anything other than your computer and whatever, your camera or your recording stuff, like this microphone that you see here. And number 5, this is the final advantage, which is also very convenient for online lessons, because it's not dependent on your like where you are, and you can do this from anywhere. This can fit very well into a working like busy person. Like very often I would do lessons and the people I'm teaching would be in their offices, maybe during lunchtime or during some kind of I don't know, some break from the work, so they would just do this from their offices. So basically an online lesson, you can always kind of, if you are like flexible enough, you can kind of put it inside your schedule almost when like wherever you are. This is something which is very convenient for an online lesson. Obviously something you cannot do in over the board lesson. So this is to summarize the advantages of the online lessons. So the convenience, the time that you save, the option to record the lesson, the fact that it's not dependent on your position and you can do this you can kind of fit it in your schedule very well, and the fact that it kind of saves you on the equipment and the kind of all of those stuff that you usually, the physical things that you would need in a lesson. Now let's move into the disadvantages of online lessons and the advantages of over the board lessons. So the first one is something very important. You need when you do an online lesson, one of the big disadvantages that if you don't have the self discipline, it might be very difficult to stay focused, because when you have somebody in front of you kind of sitting there and teaching you stuff and telling you what to do, then you're very focused, and if you cannot really you cannot really go places with your mind, because very quickly, if you have a good coach, he will notice that and he will be like, hey, come back to me. You cannot really lose attention. So when you sit at home or whatever, with your legs kind of on the table or something, you feel very comfortable. It might be easy to lose your your patience or your discipline. So if you feel like that's something, especially for children, I must say, children, it's much more difficult for them to be disciplined in their online lessons. So for them, if they have the option, that probably would be better to do, if that's an option, of course, to do a physical lesson. Second thing, which is obviously maybe the biggest drawback, you don't have this human touch, kind of. You don't meet the other person, you don't shake his hand, you don't move the actual pieces on the board. This is kind of crazy, but if you think about it, a lot of people, like chess lovers in the world right now, might have never actually touched a chess piece, or never played an actual board. They play online, they play some blitz games, maybe bullet games. But if you would send them right now into a chess tournament, and then they would have to actually move the pieces and press the clock, that may be a very weird thing for them to do. They might have never done it. So we kind of lose the human touch. So it's you might argue about how important or not important this is, but you don't actually you don't have the interaction, physical interaction. This you might be it might feel a little bit weird, let's say, or not friendly or something. So third disadvantage is when when you conduct an online lesson. Obviously, you are dependent on some technical stuff that you don't have really. You cannot really control. So, for example, a week or two ago, I was supposed to conduct an online lesson. Then the website I was teaching on just he got crashed, or there was an overload of people online because of the whole situation. So, and I couldn't control it, and we had to reschedule just because the website was down. So the internet could be down. It might be a minor thing, like it's very rarely happening, but it's a thing to consider. Number 4, it's kind of related to number 3. So there is no doubt that an online lesson requires some technical knowledge. So if you are I don't know, a very a person which had difficulties understanding, or like if I'm teaching a very old person sometimes, which is above 70 or 80 years old, it might take him some time to understand exactly where to go, where to press. It's sometimes it's a little bit difficult to explain people where exactly what to do. They're a little bit more old fashioned, so the whole environment of an online lesson might be a little bit alien to them. This drawback is kind of minor in my opinion, because it's something that over time you kind of get used to and you fix all of those problems. But once again, that's something to take into consideration. And well, the final point I wanted to make about online lessons, and one of their disadvantages, is that you cannot, like, if I live here in Israel and I teach somebody in whatever, Iceland, I don't know. I don't think I ever had students from Iceland. But okay, let's say Iceland, and I don't know why I was thinking about Iceland. Probably just watching Vikings on Netflix. All of those days. Really good show, by the way. So, and you cannot really. It's very difficult for you to follow. As a coach, you want to, let's say, go and actually see in your own eyes your student play in some tournaments. You want to maybe see what he's doing, to see how he plays his game, like physically over the board. That's something obviously you cannot do if you live very far away from each other. So once again, that's another small, or not small, once again, everybody will make their own decisions about whether it's a small or a big disadvantage. I consider it to be a pretty minor disadvantage, and basically these are the main points I wanted to present about online lessons versus physical lessons or over the board lessons. Obviously, in those times right now, it seems that right now the only option if you want to conduct a chess lesson is to do it online. There's no really other options. And for some people, it might have looked a little bit alien, or something that it's a bit maybe weird, like how do you make a chess lesson online. So I hope this video really made you understand a little bit better the pros and cons of having an online chess lesson. And well, in these times, if you kind of looking to do stuff like that, obviously, as you know, or you might not know, I'm available for lessons. You might also look for some other coaches on different websites. There are lots of people doing that. This is a good time to study chess. If that's something you have ever wanted to do. People are at home, they don't have too much stuff to do. It's good time for self-development, kind of developing your hobbies. So hopefully that's something you will consider, and this is a good opportunity to do that. And all in all, wish you to be all very healthy, all very well in those difficult times. Don't forget to subscribe, to write me in the comments about anything that you wanted to see on the channel, anything you wanted to tell me. What do you prefer? What do you say? Online lessons or physical lessons? What would you prefer? Let me know in the comment section. And see you guys.